Okay, so we're gonna paint our Yayoi Kusama pumpkin right now, and I've already gotten some water and put it into dropped it off my brush into my red, orange, and yellow. So you need to do that and let those colors start to get nice and wet so that you can paint with them really easy. And those are probably the only colors you're gonna need, is the red, orange, and yellow. And we're gonna go from dark to light, and we're gonna start with yellow. And I'm gonna make the top of my pumpkin lighter than the bottom, because my light is gonna be coming from the top and going down. So I'm just gonna take my brush and I'm gonna add some water to it now. You don't always have to add color. Sometimes you can just add water to your brush, and then that'll make the color keep on going. So I'm just getting a nice coating of yellow on here. And it doesn't matter about keeping inside the lines inside the pumpkin, but try not to go outside the lines on the outside edges of the pumpkin. And don't push too hard with your brush, because even though this is watercolor paper, it still can't handle a lot of brushing over and over again, and the paper will start to fall apart. So we're getting a nice coating of yellow on there, and I want to go kind of fast, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this color and I'm going to add color to it while it's still wet. So I'm just putting the yellow on here as quickly as I can, and trying to keep my paper wet while I do it. And pretty even, you know, if it's not very dark in one spot, I'll add a little more paint to try to get a pretty even color of yellow. So what this is doing is providing a nice bright base to put our orange on top of. So now I'm going to get a little bit of orange on my brush, and I'm going to go in between each section of the pumpkin. And the reason I'm doing that is because when you have a pumpkin, in between the sections is a little darker. So I'm going to go a little darker in between each section. And also along the bottom of the pumpkin at the bottom is going to be a little darker than the pumpkin at the top. So after you get your orange on here, then start blending it all together. But don't add any more color to your brush, just add some water. And just bring that orange all the way up and over the top of the yellow. And the yellow will glow underneath the orange. And it kind of looks like those pumpkins that she made that have a light inside of them. They're like glowing, bright orange pumpkins. I need a little more orange on my brush. But now I'm going to add water instead of more orange. Always brush very lightly on your pumpkin and just add tiny bits of paint at a time, not great big whole brushfuls of paint, because watercolor is transparent, and so you don't need very much to get what you want. So now these two sections over here have dried out. So I just take my brush, empty all the color out of it, and just have water on it. And I'm going to go over the top of this section with just water now, because I don't want my paint to be dry when I paint over it. I want it to be wet. So now I'm going to come back in, get some orange again, go in between the two sections of pumpkin and along the bottom. And don't worry if you go a little bit outside of the edge. If it really bothers you, you can cut your pumpkin out of the background later, and that will remove that little spot of paint that you got on the white part. So I'm just using a wet brush now and blending this all together and deciding, you know, whether I like it or not. And I do like the way this is turning out. I'm gonna go a little tiny bit darker down here on the very bottom. And it's still wet, so it's blending in really well. But I'm trying to get it to look a little bit three-dimensional by having it darker at the bottom than at the top. And in between the sections of the pumpkin. All right, so you kind of have to stop and just kind of take a look at it. And if it looks okay, then you can stop. I'm gonna blend this just a little bit more, get rid of that hard edge. I like a soft edge. Now I'm gonna get some orange, and I'm gonna do the, in Yayoi Kusama's pumpkins, she has the black spots on the orange for the pumpkin body, but on the pumpkin stem, she has orange spots on black. So I'm gonna make these orange, and I got a little too much water, so I take my brush, and you can squeeze the water out of it, and then it will vacuum up the extra color that you accidentally got on there. Or you can brush it onto a paper towel, that will dry it off too. Okay.